For Off the Block, I'm Van Lopes, and we are now joined by Jay Hosack. We all know him from the Net Live and the head coach of George Mason, but big for him this summer, he's going to be the head coach of the U.S. Men's Junior National Team as they prepare to play in the World Championship in the Czech Republic. That's going to be coming up later on this summer. And, Coach, have to ask you, we're a little more than a month away from the start of that tournament. What is this time like for you right now, trying to get your team assembled and everything?
Well, we put together the initial list of the guys that we want to invite up to train, and that roster comes out sometimes this week. And once we get that roster up there, we'll get after it in the gym for a few days. I know we've got Brazil also coming up and scrimmaging with us, and I know we've got a couple of other teams that have expressed some interest. So, we're going to have a lot of opportunities to play other teams and play each other and see who rises to the top and who we know we can put some pressure on. And we're just excited to get in the gym and get after it and see what happens.
Yeah, now I know that we can't get into too many specifics on the roster because you're still working that out, but did want to ask because, last year you guys were able to win the Norseca Championship. How similar do you think that this roster this season is going to be compared to the one we saw last season?
Well, I think you'll see a good number of guys on the invite list from that program. There's a few new names here and there, and to be honest with you, guys that were there last year performed really well. Obviously, we got a gold medal, which is nothing to scoff at. The Norseca tournament is not as easy as everybody thinks. Especially last year, we played a very heavily favored Cuba team to win the gold medal, and that was a byproduct of all the guys' hard work in the gym. So that was quite a nice little way to send off the rest of the summer and get some momentum and not have to worry about playing any last chance qualifiers in order to get in. So that was good for us. And the group that we think we're going to get is really high caliber and probably the highest I've seen in maybe the last 2 or 3 cycles.
And I know I ask you this. I feel like I ask you this every year you coach one of these teams. But how difficult is it for you as a coach? You get these guys in the gym for 1 month, and then, or even less than that, and then you guys are going off and playing in a big tournament. How tough is that to get everyone to gel and on the same page?
Yeah, God, I wish we had them in the gym for a month before we went and played anywhere. But the reality is, we've got a short, maybe 10 to 14 days at the most, and within that time frame, we're having to drop a couple of guys just to whittle it down to the correct number to take on the trip. So, it's one of those things where you kind of look at them and go, look, I know you want to get better at some things. I know you're working on some things back home, but unfortunately, this is kind of a sprint. And most coaches will tell you that back in their college programs, the season or the year in general is kind of a long distance marathon, and there's no reason why you have to come out sprinting so fast that you can't sustain that throughout the whole year. So it's an exact opposite example of that. But at the same time, there are some small things that we can do, whether it's our offense or blocking and defense, all in yards, that can kind of keep us generally on the same page. Some of us come from some different programs and maybe run things a little differently, so they're used to doing things one way or the other. One of the challenges and tricks of the trade is to keep things kind of simple and just kind of go after it, see just who can make the most of the short amount of time that we get in the gym.
Yesterday we conducted a very unscientific Twitter poll just asking, what's the fans' expectations for you guys this season? From the fans, it seems like there's a lot of hype. I think the overwhelming majority said at least a semifinal appearance. I want to ask you, you are concerned with what the fans are expecting, but how well do you think that this team can perform? What do you think the ceiling is for this group, assuming you get everyone you want?
I saw that survey that you put out there, which is cool in its own right, but I think the fans that are saying, gold medal or bust, or, make it to the finals or bust, I'm not sure they understand the level of play at the World Championships for the under 21 group. Historically, we have never won a medal at this level. The closest that we've ever gotten was a 4th place, and that was, about 8 years ago or so, when it was the team with Micah Christensen and Taylor Sander and Taylor Crabb. That was one heck of a team, and they got 4th. And so you kind of, the people that don't know, at the under 19 level, our guys do pretty well. In fact, I think you just put out something that showed that the youth national team that we have is favored as the number one seed going into the World Championships, which is quite a feat in its own right. That shows the work that Schweisky and all his guys are doing and all the kids. But it's a little bit of an easier road in the sense that those guys are still relatively young and they're playing in their club systems, but our guys are playing in pretty competitive clubs as well back here, and that gives them an opportunity to be pretty highly ranked. For the under 21 level, the challenge that we face is that a lot of our guys are going to be freshmen or sophomores in college, and when you put those training gyms, those universities against the kids across the world that are already playing a year or 2 or 3 in pro team systems, that's a big jump. And I feel pretty confident that we should be maybe in the top 8. I think that's a really respectable finish. We get into the top 6. That's a big high accomplishment. If we can make it in the top 4, make it to a medal round, that's quite an accomplishment. I think a lot of people will be very, very proud of. But I don't think that's expected. I really would like to think that we're going to work hard and we're going to do the things we're supposed to do, but I don't want to put that kind of expectation on. I think it's a goal. I think it's definitely something we're shooting for. But you got to remember, we're playing against guys that are making a lot of money, and that's food on the table. That's the craft. And so our guys are maybe a little bit different mindset. But, we got a good group. We'll see what happens.